working in the lab late one night, when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
he did the mash.
He did the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash.
Hello, I'm Victor, and this is The Junkyard. So, yeah, I managed to reverse that whole vampire thing, but the formula I used had side effects, namely, loss of pigmentation. Like, all of it. So, I would be outside, naked as the day I was born, playing pranks on people, all that, except I'm not sure that's a good idea. You see, I'm gonna need to do some research on the internet to figure out whether, being invisible, light will pass harmlessly through me, or whether UV radiation will fry every cell in my body the moment I go outside. So while I check on the internet for answers, I thought I would review a classic monster mashup, Abbot and Costello meet Frankenstein. Now, once again I have to refer back to my House of Dracula review. In introducing that film, I said that I thought A and C meet F sucked. I caught some flack for that. The funny thing is, though, I barely remember it. I remember not liking it much, but beyond that, nothing solid. So honestly, I may be underselling this film. Perhaps the plot was too complex, or the humor too sophisticated for my young mind. So I'm ready to give this film another shot.
Excuse me, please.
Oh, silly me. I didn't forget this movie, I repressed it. Okay, yeah. But Abbot and Lou Costello, a comedy duo whose gimmick is basically idiot man-child and crabby jerk go on adventures. Not my favorite comedic pair, but honestly, compared to some of what is marketed as comedy these days, they're Mark Twain times Monty Python. I'll try to leave their jokes alone, if only because there are only so many clever ways to say, that wasn't funny. Moving on. After establishing that A and C are working as delivery men in this picture, they get a call from Lawrence Talbot, aka the Wolfman, who informs them that he has 2 crates about to ship to a house of horrors and they are not to deliver them until he arrives there in person. While Talbot is busy wolfing out, the guy who owns the house of horrors shows up demanding immediate delivery. They comply, and after an overly long scene where Dracula, played by Bela Lugosi himself for once, messes with Abbot's mind, the Nosferatu makes off with the other crate's contents, the Frankenstein monster. Glenn Strange edition. The House of Horrors owner shows up to see 2 empty crates, leaving A and C in a bad spot. You know, as we go on, I'm beginning to warm to Abbott a little bit, funny enough. See, he's really good at reactions and expressions. Basically, he mugs a lot, and as a movie reviewer, that's kind of what we do. You know, you cut back from something silly in the movie, and you oh wait, that doesn't work, but still, yeah, you react. This guy could have left the angry video game nerd and the nostalgia critic in the dust, penniless on the street, assuming they had no other skills whatsoever. Anyway. Cut to yet another American castle. The East Coast is just lousy with castles, you don't even know. Anyway, Dracula flies over to meet with Abbot's girlfriend, aka Mad Scientist. And yes, not Frankenstein's daughter or something like that. She's a generic mad scientist in her own right. It's good to see a woman break through the glass ceiling in a 1948 film. Anyway, Dracula is offering her whatever she wants if she'll bring the monster back up to full power, with a more simple, suggestible mind. She says she has just the brain, and the audience already knows where this is going. Well, back to A and C, as Abbott tries to convince Costello about the 2 monsters, Talbot shows up and backs up Bud's story. Lou is still skeptical, and we get another one of those scenes that relies on the straight man having no peripheral vision. The next morning, Mad Scientist shows up to remind Bud about the masquerade ball at her castle later, pointing out that she loves him for his brain. Then an investigator comes by and starts seducing Bud, hoping he'll lead her to the, she believes, stolen contents of those crates. Bud now has 2 dates to the ball, and Lou is bewildered and jealous. Sitcom antics are sure to follow. Abbott, Costello, and Investigator all show up at the castle, where they meet the boringly handsome assistant and Mad Scientist, who is less than pleased that Bud brought along 2 guests. Talbot calls to inform them that he believes Drac and Frankie are in the castle, which leads to my favorite exchange in the movie.
No, you don't. Come here. I'm going to settle this thing once and for all. We'll search this place.
Look, Chick, it's a little past sunset, and if Dracula is here, he's going to be wanting breakfast, and I'm fatter than you, and it ain't going to be me.
Back then, a fat joke that referenced relative blood content was about as dark and edgy as you were going to get in a mainstream film, okay? Anyway, they go looking around and Bud runs into the monsters through a secret passage. We get another one of those, "Monster! Where?" scenes and then move on. After Mad Scientist discovers investigators' true identity, everyone meets up in the lobby, including Dracula posing as a colleague of Mad Scientist's. She tries to talk Dracula into delaying the procedure on Frankie since there are so many people around, but he uses his mind mojo on her and everything's back on schedule. Talbot also arrives at the castle while the party is in full swing. He tries to confront Dracula, who came dressed as himself, but gets the brush off while the vampire walks off with Bud's other girl. Lord giveth and charming Romanians taketh away. Mad Scientist tries to get a drink out of Bud, only to be interrupted by Talbot and Lou, and the three go out looking for Investigator. There we get what I would like to point out is the second full-effects werewolf transformation of the movie. None of that cheap, add more fur every time the camera is off and crap we got in House of Wolfman. Sorry, I'm still bitter. So Wolfman chases Abbot, who thinks it's Costello in a mask, and the two both end up getting chased by the partygoers after someone gets attacked by the real Wolfman, where they run into Dracula, who subdues them both alongside Investigator. Bud and Investigator are taken to a secret island by boat, where they fail to run into the Gillman. Shame. Anyway, Costello and Talbot meet back up. Having seen Dracula, Lou is suddenly a lot less skeptical about Talbot's condition, and the two make plans to save Bud. Meanwhile, Abbot is waiting for his operation with typical dignity and grace. Blandly handsome assistant almost becomes relevant to the story before Mad Scientist puddings his occipital lobe with a fire extinguisher. Well, that's what the Foley artist made it sound like. You tell me!
Yep.
Lou and Lawrence catch up with Bud and assistant, and the four escape as Drac and Mad Scientist prep Frankie for surgery. However, while the other three go to free Investigator, Dracula gets Bud back and they begin the operation. At the last second, Lou and Talbot rush in, and while the former distracts Dracula, the latter chooses a very inopportune time to transform. Anyway, Wolfman starts chasing Dracula, the commotion from which riles up Frankenstein, who throws Mad Scientist through a glass window to her death? Wow. Can't say I saw that one coming. Unless she crawls out of a her-shaped hole in the ground, nursing a bump on her head and a halo of tweeting birds, I'd say we just shifted tone. So yeah, Drac and Wolfie have a running fight while Bud and Lou try to evade Frankie. Dracula shifts to bat form, but Wolfman takes a flying leap to nab him, and the two plummet to the rocky waters below. Abbott and Costello make it to a boat just ahead of the monster, who blandly handsome sets on fire. Our heroes are just about to relax when Vincent Price makes a last-minute cameo appearance, sound, as the Invisible Man. And how appropriate. You see, I just got off of Yahoo Answers, and 5 out of 7 people are pretty sure that I won't die a horrible death from radiation if I go outside while invisible. So the only things standing between me and the rest of the world are these. And now I am a god. No door shall be barred to me unless it's locked. No secret shall be safe unless it's in a password-protected computer. And no mere man could hope to stand against me unless he had a can of spray paint or particularly good hearing. Oh, look! These nail clippers are flying on their own! How is this even possible? Just kidding! Final thoughts on the movie. I definitely ended up liking this one more the second time around. Either the jokes, gags, and performances got better as the plot picked up, or I just adjusted my 2012 sense of humor to accept a little vaudeville. And after the original House of movies, I'm glad to see a classic monster mash where all 3 monsters are actually on screen at the same time, even if only the 2 actually fought. Hey, you try choreographing that fight. I was kind of annoyed that they felt the need to add a generic handsome hero and damsel in distress to the film when they contributed next to nothing. But I couldn't really expect otherwise from a movie in this era, and they never really get in the way, so I can forgive it. So yeah, I had fun with this one. I am glad that I gave Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein another chance. I'm also glad the invisibility formula wore off. It was going to my head. In any case, I think I've gotten it right this time. Meanwhile, this has been Victor with The Junkyard. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Bottoms up!
It's now the mash,
It's now the Monster Mash,
the monster mash.
and it's a graveyard
It's
smash.
now the
Hello nose, hello eyelids. Oh, I missed you guys. Oh, hi. You remember in my JSA Classified Power Play review when I promised that I wouldn't go topless again in a review? I hope not.